Welcome back to Mondays on Montlake. I am your host, Montlake Miguel, and we are here for another amazing episode of Mondays on Montlake. This week has been kind of a crazy week. Well, last week was kind of a crazy week. We had a Big Ten Media Day, and it was pretty crazy all the way around. What we're going to do on this episode is really get into basically the meat and potatoes of what happened at Big Ten Media Day. I think there was definitely some news that was brought down. And the truth about it is, Big Ten Media Days aren't really about like breaking news, it's more about like setting the expectations. And after listening to Jed Fisch, Jacob Manu, Damon Williams, and Landon Hatchett, and seeing how the national media has talked about about Washington, I think we learned five really important things from this week, and that's what we're going to go over. Um, some came from what was said, and some came from what everybody else is saying. And so, why don't we jump right into this? Before we do, though, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you can, if you're on Twitter, save this. Do everything to help us get up in the algorithm because I could definitely use the boost, and I really, really appreciate it, especially to some of you guys that are new to the channel. So, first thing that I think was established and answered for the national media, because I do think a lot of this stuff is stuff that Washington fans already know, is that Washington has left the rebuild mode. The biggest thing I took away is nobody is treating Washington like a rebuild anymore. They're really treating Washington like a program that's kind of on the precipice, like they're not beating Ohio State or anything yet, at least not in the national media's eyes. But they're also not a team that is jockeying for position in that bottom eight or whatever in the league. I think Jed Fisch had a great quote about this team, especially how it is like how we're talking about how it's kind of left the rebuild mode. He said, "This team was not bought; it was built." And I think that is something that is maybe a jab at some teams that will remain nameless. Um, but I also think that it's proven. You're starting to see this as time has gone on. I mean, Washington went from being 6-7 to 9-4 last year. That's a big jump. LA Bowl champions, scoring offense significantly jumped from 104th in the nation to 17th. And then the defense went from 53rd to 15th nationally. Those are things that are huge because when Fish is talking to players, he's no longer selling hope. He's selling results because the results are proven. Like I said, the rebuild conversation is over. Now it's, can Washington compete? Are they going to be contenders? Along with that, I think you've seen some of the national expectations have changed. And this might be where Husky fans could be surprised. Um, they're not asking, can Washington bounce back? Now they're asking, is Washington the Big Ten's biggest sleeper? Now, I kind of felt a little mixed on all of this because some of the national media, I've been watching a lot of the previews for UW, and there's a lot of people that kind of think we're in that 7 to 8 win realm, and if we get to 9, we're going to be happy. Those are definitely not the expectations locally here in Seattle, but I do think that the media is looking at us beyond being a team that gets lucky to get to 7 wins like what they thought last year. But it's also there's other outlets that have really big expectations for us. Several national outlets discussing Big Ten Media Day grouped with Washington as one of the league's most intriguing sleepers, rather than a team that's just rebuilding. Citing returning production, quarterback Damon Williams as a lot of major reasons, and then also Ryan Walters and what he does in that system. Um, we're top 15 in production coming back, and Damon Williams is kind of got a spotlight on him, not just because of what happened in the offseason, but when you look at his numbers from last year, the 25 touchdowns, the 3,000 yards, the 611 rushing yards, and the other 6 touchdowns he had on the ground, people are looking at him like he could possibly produce at a Heisman level. And it's not just us here in Seattle that are feeling that way. Now, like I said, nobody's taking us to win at Oregon or at Ohio State, but people are definitely saying don't sleep on us. And I think that's a big change from what we've seen nationally. I do still think a lot of people don't understand the talent when they're talking about specifically the running back room, the defensive line, and the wide receiver room. They see the people that have vacated and the guys that are not here anymore, the production lost, but they don't realize the talent and how the talent has already matured. You just haven't seen it in games yet because we just have saw it through the springtime, and we will see it as fall practice goes on. They're in for a big surprise out there in the Big Ten and in the Midwest. Another thing that I think was really during Pac-10 Big Ten Media Day is Damon Williams really has been established as the face of this program. I like this because I think you're seeing the mental maturity part start right now. Like I said, you haven't seen it on the field yet, but compared to how he was last media day, where he was a little bit more quiet, one word answers, he really looked like he had fit into the leadership role, and he's embracing it. And on top of that, you started hearing the other guys that were with him talk about how he stepped up and became this leader over the last 6 to 8 months. Damon is going to be one of those guys that even if the light isn't all the way on Washington, the light is going to be on Damon. And I think you're going to see that nationally all year, especially if he's producing. If he struggles early on in the season, it'll start to fade and dim. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think by the time we get into league play and we're 3-0, or say we get to USC and we're 4-0, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Washington. And if we can leave Troy with a win, the hype train is going to amp up big time. Um, Now I said that this was more about expectations as far as media day goes, but we actually got some real news during media day. First of all, it seems like, according to Jed Fisch, it doesn't look like Jordan Washington is going to play this year. If not, it won't be till very, very late. And neck injuries are serious, and it hurts to see this, but there's a lot of talent still in that room. Um, Another thing that was kind of laid out during media day is Cody Green is going to start at left tackle. We kind of already knew that, but it seems like he set that in stone. The one that people were kind of, and even myself were kind of wondering still, was if Champ Talea was going to be starting at right guard or Gary and Hatchett. Well, it came out during media day that it looks like it's going to be Champ Talea with Gary and Hatchett playing some center while Landon still is recovering. Now, I don't know if that means he's going to start camp at center, or if that means that Landon and Gary are going to be competing for that starting job. But it looks like Gary is kind of moving to the interior and is going to be a kind of a swing guard center as we move into the season. Kind of wrapping a bow in this, Washington knows exactly who it wants to be. That's the biggest thing I noticed when I was listening to basically what Fisch was talking about. He brought his veteran leadership. He brought the guys that really show the toughness in the team. Fisch he repeatedly praised leadership, continuity, and culture, saying Washington's success comes from developing and retaining players rather than consistently replacing them, which I think is a big time quote, and I really like what it talks about when you're talking to the kids and to the people that are coming into this program. They're not like some other schools where, hey, you get recruited as a 4-star guy, and the following year they're bringing in 3 transfers and another freshman to replace you. They're focusing on development, and I think it's kind of what's always separated Washington from other teams. And I think when you focus on development, you're also developing leadership, physicality, and loyalty to the program. And you're able to sell that to people because people are going to want to be part of that. People are not going to want to be somewhere where if they don't blow up their first year, they're not going to ever get a chance and they're going to have to look to transfer out. They want guys that are Gonna come in, gonna work hard, and understand that the harder you work, the more you are going to get rewarded. Besides that, Jed Fisch, I heard him on the radio, a softie last week. He was also talking about not having close to enough NIL money. I think there were rumors that there was upwards around 28 to $30 million spent on our roster, and he said that that's nowhere close. He didn't give us an exact number, but I think that 18 to $20 million range may be where it's at. Um, those were just a couple of the things that were just kind of made. There were light was shed on when it came to talking specifically about those things. Now, as we start moving closer to camp, we're going to move away a little bit from media day and start looking towards camp. Camp is right around the corner here, and these are the things that I'm going to be looking at as we go into this first week and second week of camp that's coming upon us really quickly. First thing, who wins the running back position? Is it Lamar? Is it Cooley? Is it Carr? Is it one of the freshmen? It's one of the first things I'm going to be watching as soon as we're allowed out at practice. I want to see who's getting those first team reps and then who looks the best. The second thing I want to see is who starts creating separation at that third wide receiver position. Is it going to be a guy like Justice Williams, who I think, or is it going to be Christian Moss? Is it going to be Chris Lawson? Is it going to be one of the freshmen, Jordan Clay or Trez Davis? There's a lot of talent there, and I'm very curious to see who steps up and starts battling for that third wide receiver position. Number 3 is one of the ones that we've talked a ton about. I want to see at the edge position, is there anybody that stands out rushing the passer? I'm going to have my eye on Deuce Davis because I know he's back. That's one of the things Jed Fisch said during media days, that he's at full tilt going in. They're going to kind of hold him back some because they want to make sure he makes it to the season. But I'm curious to see if he's the guy, or maybe it's Jacob Lane, or maybe it's one of the younger guys, or maybe Logan George, who transferred in, shows us something that we haven't seen before. Very curious to see how that lays itself out. The fourth thing that I'm looking for is, does the offensive line continue the momentum it had from the spring? Is the continuity there? Are they looking really sharp and not getting beat? We know what we have, and I think we're very much locked into who the starters are going to be. Now let's see, can they play when things ramp up? Because you know how fall camp gets. And finally, number 5, does Ryan Walters' defense look faster in year 2? Does it look like they're processing better? Does it look like the guys that are veterans in this defense are really taking that next step? And we're seeing an attacking defense that's going to create a ton of turnovers and really put the offense in position to make big plays. Are they going to be like the defenses of old that really put Washington on the map? That's what I'm looking for in camp. And there will be more because I'll be reporting from camp as we go in. But that's what I'm looking for going into it. Now, to wrap a bow up in this, and we're going to call this an episode. Like I said, media days are about expectations. Training camp is about earning them. And over the next few weeks, we're finally going to figure out how everything's going to shake out along the offensive line, in the wide receiver room, the running back room, how things are looking along the defensive line and the edge. How that cornerback. Is there going to be a cornerback competition at all? We don't know. How do the safeties look? Is Gavin Day going to come in and look as strong as he looked in the spring? We'll see. But I'll tell you one thing, I will be there, and as long as you guys tap in with me, you'll be able to stay tuned and stay up on all Husky news. So until next week, I'm Montlake Miguel, and this is Mondays on Montlake. Go Dogs.